I love my Optibike. It's so fine, I ride it every day. I love my Optibike. It takes me everywhere I want to go today. The perception is that if it's electric, you're not exercising, but I've been riding about 100 miles a week, and most recently, and I went to the doctor, and my blood pressure had dropped about 8 points, and my weight had dropped only about 8 or 9 pounds, but my belt had come in like several inches, you know. So I was really doing well on my weight control. I hadn't changed my diet at all. All I'd done was I just became a lot more active. There's a couple of different brands, but I know that I had looked at several different brands, and they all seemed quite cheap, and I'd ride one, and it didn't seem very powerful to me, you know. So then I read on the web about this, how the motor goes through the gears, and I thought, well, that makes sense, you know. So I thought, this has got to be good. So I pitched it to Mary, and I had pitched some electric bicycle that was, you know, less expensive years ago. And when she said, oh, we're not getting that. That's still too expensive, you know. Yeah. But for some reason, I was able to convince her about why the Optibike was better, and it was on the internet, you know. People were like posting up there that they had, you know, that it was just the best thing they'd ever ridden. So I thought, I really want to get this. So she was very kind, the good wife of almost 30 years that she is. She said, okay.
Only if you get me one.
Only if you get me one. So I keep up with you on our day off.
That's right.
And, you know, she didn't know, I think initially, if she would ride it to work, but she'd been thinking about different ways to get to work that don't use as much premium fuel like her car uses and everything. And then I said, well, you could ride it to work. And sure enough, after we got those Optibikes, she started riding to work. I ride to work. I even commute 22 miles to my music studio in Huntington Beach from Aliso, Viejo, California. And we do, so we use, part of our normal routine now is riding the Optibike. And what now it's like, I'm kind of like, oh, I've got to drive my car, you know. It's just, I'm thinking, and Mary also said later on when you're at work, you know, you're thinking, I could ride my Optibike home, you know.
Well, I park it, I lock it outside the window where I do therapy, so I can see it. And I know if anyone's taking it, but it's also locked. But it's like an encouragement. At the end of the day, you get to ride me home. So it's kind of fun.
And it's something to look forward to while you're at work, you know. And for me, we got this great Thule rack, you know, that'll hold 2 Optibikes on the back of the car. And so now I take one way 22 miles. I've got instruments with me, and so some days I'll take my Optibike and my instruments, drop them off at my studio, and ride my Optibike home, leave my instruments in my car locked up, and then ride the 22 miles back. And then in the morning, first thing, I'm back out there with my Optibike. So I did a little 44-mile round trip, but I break those 2 days up, and it's nice. But the distances seem long on regular bicycles that are not as long on an Optibike. Like, for instance, you think a 22-mile ride, and you tell someone that, and they look at me, you know, I'm almost 50 years old, and they say, okay, here's this guy riding 22 miles to work. What's he doing? Like taking 4 hours to do it. But distances on an Optibike are much faster, and things are closer, really, basically. So where you would only consider driving a car before, you would just say, oh, we'll just take the Optibike. It's only 15 miles. Let's just take the Optibikes, you know. And 30 miles round trip is like a completely doable thing on that new kind of vehicle. The only time I did it was before I got my Opti. I thought, you know, I really should ride my regular bike just to give it a shot, you know. So it's 4.5 miles to my music studio in Laguna Hills. I have 2 studios. And so I rode my regular bike up the hills. We have a lot of hills here. And up the hills with my instruments on my back. and it just about killed me, because I had some weight on my back, and the hills are steep, and then on your Optibike, that's just the way to fly, it doesn't care about hills. You slow down, but I'm oftentimes, even on a pretty steep hill, I'm slowing down to 10 miles an hour, but I'm going up this steep hill at 10 miles an hour. It's quite amazing, actually.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.